Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give it a couple minutes for people to jump on. Hopefully everybody was able to see the new link that was sent out. If you recall the last COP, we had a link to both Teams and Zoom, which is obviously confusing. So that's why you received the cancellation. And then the new invite that is only the Zoom link. Afternoon, Ann. How's it going?
It's going good.
Good. Judy, how are you? Tom? Hello.
Doing good. How are you, Kyle?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good.
Jenny, Brandy, Dawn. So I'm just clicking through the people here. I can't see everyone at once. I got a bunch of screens open.
Hi, a couple of us here from Kreider today.
Hey, Brandy, how are you? How's your day?
Okay, not too bad. Thanks for asking.
Good. Sonia, good afternoon. All right, I'm gonna say we can go ahead and get started here. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our June community of practice. They seem to come around very quickly. I hope you all have been having a good week. Hope the weather's nice wherever you're at, and we got a lot of good stuff for you. I am going to pass it over to Sharon, who's going to go through the first couple of slides today. So, Sharon.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. So welcome everybody. This is kind of our agenda on the screen right now. We're gonna go through some updates, gonna have a customer highlight, then we're gonna have a presentation from Ben in regard to the neurodiversity of the workforce, and then an agency highlights from Centerstone in the workshop. And that should wrap up our meeting after that. Next slide, please. All right, and we just want to remind you of the SWTCIE resources that are available. So when you go to the SWTCIE website, if you remember to click on the Learn With Us tab, that's got many resources and tools to, kind of support the individuals that you're supporting in achieving community or competitive integrated employment. And then there's a list here of the data tracking tools. So there are what used to be called the ES activity log, the link to that. There's the baseline survey from Mathematica, and then also the outreach tracking form so that you can track the numbers when you do any kind of an outreach event. Next slide. And then upcoming events, what's happening in the future for SWTCIE So we have our executive summit coming up on June 18th at the Hotel Royer. We have our next ES roundtable, July 16th and 17th, also with the Hotel Royer. And then our next community of practice will be August 5th. Our next round of Sophie's video filming will be in the week of August 10th. And then our annual meeting will be in October, the 14th, 15th, 16th. If you haven't gotten registration for any of these events, please reach out ASAP, especially if you haven't gotten anything in regard to the roundtable, because I think the deadline will probably be approaching for that. But otherwise, if you have any questions or anything, you can check the website, or you could always reach out to Aletha, Kyle, or I, and we can get a link if you're missing something for registration. So does anybody have any questions real quick before we move on?
I just wanted to clarify quick that the registration for the annual meeting has not come out.
Oh, it hasn't come out yet. Okay. Yeah, I guess October. That's a ways away.
Keep an eye
Okay.
out for that. You haven't missed it yet, anybody.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sharon.
Uh-huh.
We're going to go into some SWTCIE updates here. I'm going to pass it over to Jim, who's going to give us an overview of our current numbers, goals, and sort of the state of the project currently.
All right. Good afternoon. This is Jim. Good afternoon. I'm on the phone, so I'm not. I've got the slides in front of me, so I'm going to assume that the slide that's up there shows the total or overall objective of 89%. That's the one we're seeing?
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
Good.
All right. Appreciate y'all carving out some time in your day. What I wanted to do here today is to go over a couple of facts and figures for those of you who were on the advisory council meeting last month. This is some similar information, but I felt it necessary to kind of present this to the group. This is sort of a reframing of what the expectations are of SWTCIE as we head into the last year and a few months of the project. The overall objective, the target placement rate is 89%. So these figures are really nothing, should be nothing new, but we want to reiterate that what our target was in engagement is to engage 228 customers throughout the six sites in the entire project, and of those 228, placing 203. 89% is a lofty target placement. But something that I feel like we ought to be able to hit. And the primary metric, sort of the basic tenet of what it is that we're trying to do here, is to take people who are engaged in the project and place them into successful competitive employment. It's a difficult thing to do, but the ask is pretty simple. Next slide, please. So one of the other measurements of this project is the amount of outreach that we're doing, and this metric is being knocked out of the park. As you can see, through the end of April, we have made 1,384 contacts about the project. Of those, the target is 320 adults. We have achieved outreach on 868 individuals, and the target on youth is 150. We have knocked it out of the park again at 516. So we've achieved over 300% of our combined target of 470. So kudos to y'all on that. Next slide, please. So what this is giving you, as of the end of April, this slide is giving you a real good snapshot of where we are in customers engaged and what the targets are, and broken down by individuals that are currently employed in 14C employment, and those individuals that are considered to be contemplators. And we know that we define those as individuals that either students or adults who their likely landing spot based on their disability, their likely employment landing spot would be sheltered work. So where we're at with this is the engagement of individuals in 14C is lagging behind at 84. Our target for the project is 159. So we've got a ways to go there. Our contemplators and or our students, we have exceeded that target of 91. The target, the number that we want engaged is 69. So as you can do the simple math there, 159 plus 69 equals that magic number of 228 that we want to get engaged. So right now, overall, we are at 168 total. The placement numbers, as you can see, we've got a target of sheltered workshop individuals of 142 placed. We are at 50. The contemplators at 61, and we are at 38. So we have 84 customers placed as of the end of April. Our target is 203. So as we can see, we've got some work to do. So the next slide gives you this really similar information, but in a bar graph format, outlining number engaged, and what the target is, and also the placement and the target in just a little bit different format. So next slide, please. So we know that the SWTCIE project sunsets on September 30th of 2027. So where do we need to go from here? We need 119 more placements to meet our goal and 60 more engagements to meet our goals. And the amount of time we have to do that is, and I'm almost right on target here, but we've got 15 months, 27 days, 9 hours, and 45 minutes to get this done. All right? So across the project, if you break it down simplistically, what we're looking at over the course of the next 18 months, 27 days, 9 hours, and 45 minutes, across the project, we need to average 8 placements per month, and we need to average 4 engagements per month. I think when you break it down like that, I think that we can see that these targets are very doable. So we're heading into the fourth quarter of our project. And if anybody is a Bear fan, they know that the fourth quarter, Caleb Williams is our quarterback. And more often than not, he pulls games out in the fourth quarter. And I have every confidence that between our Virginia consultants, our CRSs, our ESs, and now as we start to engage our executive staff within this project, that we can meet or exceed these goals. So I wanted to put that out in front of folks. If this is something that you didn't know before, I'm not sure quite how you didn't, but now you do. This is what we're shooting at, this is where we're at, and this is where we want to go. So, questions, comments, concerns?
Jim, is that eight placements per month per agency or 8 placements per month across the project?
Across the project.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So if you want, to break it down by that, the math will tell us that it's what? I'm not good with fractions, but
it's like
whatever 6 divided by 8 is. Yeah.
It's like 1.5 or something like that, or part of 1.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So break it down by employment specialist. We need to place one individual, one customer per month.
That works.
That
makes it a little easier.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
Jim. It's Jenny Grissom. How are you?
Jenny Grissom, how are you?
I'm great. So I have a question about the math.
Sure.
The 15 months.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that actually be like 13 months since their contracts end in June? Or does that not matter?
Well, we're going under the premise since we've gotten really no direct guidance from RSA and everything that is on our deliverables and our any of our data that we have is telling us that it's setting on 9/30. So where that what's going to happen in those last 3 months, I'm not exactly sure. But
Okay.
right now, when it comes to performance, yeah, and I know exactly what you're saying. But anything that we are working with at the U of I is telling us that we have until 9/30 to meet our targets. So,
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Good question. Okay. So the expectation moving forward here is to kind of reframe, regroup. The ask of the CRSs and of our consultants is to be working toward these figures and what we're doing at each and every contact with you in our bi-monthly meetings, at our ES roundtables, at our executive summits, at our annual meetings. Everything that we're doing needs to be focused on how we can get as many people placed and as many people engaged in this project. I know that many of you have, some of you do not have sheltered work anymore. Many of you do. Engaging those customers that are working in your 14C facility. Engaging them in conversations about competitive employment. Getting them hooked up with our benefits planner. All of those things that we've been doing for the past 4 years, now is the time to finish this project strong. So that is all I have. And if there's no more questions, I'm going to turn it back over to Kyle, I'm assuming.
Yep. Thank you, Jim.
All right.
Any questions?
You bet. Enjoy your day, everybody.
Thank you. If there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We will stop and address them. And I did put in the chat as well. I'll send these slides so everyone has that data they can refer to. Okay. Something about the annual meeting I wanted to touch base with all of you about is, so we have some time to plan this, of course. This is not till October. But one of the ideas that we've been kicking around is trying to secure some different employers who have hired some of our SWTCIE clients to be a part of the annual meeting, to be a part of a panel presentation where they can talk about what their experience has been like, the clients that they're supporting. And we wanted to ask you all sort of what you thought. We understand that asking employers to come to Champaign-Urbana is a big ask during a week. So we just kind of wanted to put this out there. There is an option that they could be Zoomed in, or we could record testimonials from them to then play. I'm just sort of trying to figure out what you all, the agencies, think would work best for this. Do you think that there are employers that would want to come out to Champaign and participate in the event? There would be reimbursement, of course, for travel, hotel, those type of things, similar to like what we did with the quality of life when the clients came out. But if anyone has thoughts on that. I guess I can give a little more scope too. Hotel would be covered. Okay. Jasmine, great. So that is something that the CRSs will be bringing to the individual teams to discuss. I just kind of wanted to put this on everyone's radar. And additionally, regarding the annual meeting, as you guys saw, it's 3 days, right? So what our goal is, the first day is going to be only SWTCIE, like our regular annual meetings. Thank you, Adriana. And then the next 2 days is going to be opened up to other CRPs, families, people with disabilities, kind of whoever this information makes sense to. And we want to have different breakout sessions. Part of that would be this employer session. So the goal of this is to kind of spread the SWTCIE word a little further and talk about sort of what we've learned, how things are going to look in the future when it comes to providing SWTCIE type services within Illinois, even after SWTCIE has ended. So just something to think about. We understand that employers will probably have a lot of questions, but I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar so you know that that is going to be an ask. And we will put something together that you can provide to the employers. I'm thinking maybe give them 3 different options of recorded testimonial, do a Zoom, or come in person and kind of see what kind of response we get and go from there. Brandy, I see a thumbs up. Thank you. And of course, we would want to include the SWTCIE clients as well.
This is Brandy. I think the sooner the better if we could get some sort of something to give and more guidance on how to ask.
Okay. Yeah, I think the best way to approach it is with a flyer, something you can hand to someone that they can refer to on their own time and kind of think about it, and something that we outlines the ask, the expectations, and the reimbursement situation. Okay. Jasmine, thank you for your input on that. I appreciate it. I will take this back to the SWTCIE annual meeting committee and see if we can get a flyer out sooner than later so you all can sort of kind of test the water with that. Now I would like to pass the mic over to Chung Lung, who's going to give us an update on quality of life. I know we've been talking about this at the past COPs, so I just would like to have Chung Lung give us an update. If you're not aware, Chung Lung is part of the evaluation team with SWTCIE, who is behind the scenes checking data, collecting data, and a part of the team who is working to get quality of life off the ground.
Thank you, Kyle, and thank you for having me today. And I represent on behalf of evaluation team. Just let you know the one of the COP meeting is one of the meeting I really kind of enjoy all the time. So thank you for having me. So I know the Kyle and the CRS team mentioned the quality of life last month, and I know maybe some of you have questions, so I come today and also give you a quick update. And also another big ask to you guys, it's just the previous I showing we only have 15 months, left, and what we have one of the big the evaluation kind of project quality of life is still ongoing. So we still try to get it done. Hopefully the coming soon during the summertime. And just kind of remind you the quality of life. We have a 3-stage like a recruit. I kind of just want to remind you again. The first step is recruitment, and the second step the interviews, and the third step is data entry. And we currently still try to sort out the data entry, this kind of platform, and hopefully it's coming soon. The midsummer or the end of summer, we can kind of kick off the quality of life. But today, I kind of just want to kind of remind everybody the recruitment is quite important. We want to recruit 5 with CIE and 5 with some minimum wage, and total 10 for each agency. So that's our goal, try to recruit those the voluntary participant, and we can gather in data. And as you know, we are going to the declining in pay this era, so it's quite important we can gather this piece of evidence. The quality of life. We know employment is important, but ultimate goal is quality of life, right? So that's one piece of evidence we will try to gather in, through this project. So that's first thing. And we already done the flyer. So, and I think after this meeting, we will send out the flyer to you guys, so we can just ask each agency can circulate the flyer to your clients, so to see if anyone interested, and also plan ahead. And so we already have a paper version, the survey, we call POS, the Personal Outcome Scale Survey. Basically, it's quality of life survey. And this survey, we have 2 versions. So one is adult version, which is 18 years old or plus, And the other one is we call it children and adult for the children and the youth, which is 18 years old below. So I think most of our clients is adult. We were going to use adult version, but I just let you know we have two versions, and just depend on the client age, which category we will choose. Both are very similar, just some wording a little bit different, but just to let you know we have two versions. So let's interview. I think that during the quality of life this project, most of the time you were spending on interview if you uh, went to a training last year. So that's our big focus. So after interview, we will do a data entry. So using our platform we developed. So that's the last step. But so that's one of our big asks today. So just if anyone have any question for this qualify, and if you have any, just let you know. And flyer, and I'm thinking also the survey, the paper version, which is PDF file. I think we will share with you guys just as just like I say, you can plan ahead and to think about which client probably maybe circulate a flyer to see if any client interested to for this to participate this kind of qualified kind of interviews. So let's one first our the big ask and the next slide, please. So this is another we kind of we met SWTCIE Texas in one of our conference earlier this year. So we met and we share our story, and they are very interesting in our successful story basically. So that's another ask we want to mention today is if any agency they are interested to make a connection, please let us know. You can talk to your CRS, you can just talk to us, anybody. So just let us know so we can just kind of refer. I mean, basically, they want to have a site visit, site tour to any of our agency to learn our successful story. So that's another request to you. And if anyone interested, just let us know. And I think the main connection is quite important in the future collaboration. And they also mentioned it's just like today, one of us slide, we only have 15 months left, right? So after this, how we kind of continue. So it's one of the one of the things we want to sort out, maybe together. And why I believe is when we together, the voice we can make, when we bring our voice together, we can make a bigger impact. So, but anyway, so that's another request. If anyone interested to make a connection, let us know. So I will pass to Lisa.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're really excited that you are able to join our SWTCIE Community of Practice call today. As you know, these quarterly COP meetings are included in our grant and as a project deliverable. And so it's required of us to host them and to have you participate. And so we're excited to have you here. To our very important employment specialists, we also know, us CRSs, we know that each of you are very busy, have very busy schedules, providing direct supports to your SWTCIE participants in different capacities every single day. We do not take it lightly that you have adjusted your schedules to join the call today. Your attendance and participation in these meetings is extremely important, and as it allows opportunity for sharing, for discussions, for highlights, for us to be able to highlight the work that you're doing, and most important, the success of our customers. Next slide, please, Kyle. So today I'm going to highlight a participant on behalf of Maren, who is the ES. She's on vacation this week. So we're highlighting a participant served by Caritas Human Support Services in Waterloo. The participant's name is Candace, and of course, Maren is her employment specialist. Marin is pictured here with Candace on her job, and Candace is working as an associate at Three Tails Parlor and Pantry. Three Tails is a local pet supply and grooming business in Waterloo. And this story was also featured in our most recent SWTCIE newsletter and will be the cover story for our next SWTCIE video with Sylphie's Media on behalf of Waterloo. So Candace is our participant here. Marin is her employment specialist. And I was fortunate enough to visit Three Tails when we did the video shoot. It's an amazing pet supply store with all kinds of pet supplies. And it's a huge store. It's like, instead of visiting a store, it's like going on an adventure, is what I would describe it. So Candace is working there currently at 2 to 4 hours a week. And of course, she is now receiving transportation from the Human Support Services, and Marin is driving her to and from work in the agency van. Next slide, please, Kyle. So here's Candace. Last month at the video filming event, Marin introduced me to Candace, who was at her job at Three Tails. I also met Candace's supervisor. Her name's Chelsea Nettemeyer. While talking with Chelsea that day, it was clear that Candace was a valued and supported member of their work team. I also met Candace's coworkers who shared with me how much they appreciated Candace being on their team, and how much they enjoyed her pleasant spirit and how well she served the customers and their pets when they came into the shop. This is not Candace's first job in the community. According to the employment services supervisor, Erica, who shared some information with me. Candace has worked, when she was in high school, she worked at a local Dairy Queen for a short period of time. During that time, it was discovered that due to her shorter attention span, that she needed to work shorter shifts. This is what is now in place and working for her at her current job at Three Tails. We're unsure exactly how the specific job connection was made, but I do know that Marin was very much involved in identifying Candace's interest and her abilities. And in the employment search, the focus was to find a job that fit her interests best, which is a love for animals. We also know that this job was customized to fit Candace's needs, and the employer's needs, which is always the other part that needs to be considered. There wasn't a cleaning position, according to Erica, prior to Candace working at Three Tails, and this job was specifically tailored for her based on her interest and skills, and she is super excited to be working there. Next slide, Kyle. Candace has had, as I said before, she's had several work experiences, but in this particular job, she has work accommodations in place that meets her needs. According to the case file notes provided by the supervisor there in Marin's absence, quote, Candace always has a job coach with her while she's at work. She is also able to complete the task in whatever order that she chooses to do so, which is also an accommodation. Her employer has been very accommodating, and if Candace is having a I don't want to do it kind of day, then Candace is given that break until she's ready to try again. If she's still not wanting to work, of course, then she can leave early, which sometimes happen. But according to Erica, luckily, she usually chooses to work even after a break. If she takes that break to kind of regroup, then she's willing to come back to work. And that's an accommodation. Some additional supports that Marin has provided to Candace include demonstrating and modeling activities and tasks. You see her here. She's doing some sorting for the camera, but this is also a part of her job. Marin has also, I witnessed her just offering words of encouragement and acknowledgement to Candace, and there was an obvious connection between the two of them. Marin also shared with me that she has seen Candace grow in her confidence and her willingness to take direction since she started this job. Then to sum it all up, it was clear to me during that visit on that day that the store manager, Chelsea, and the other two young ladies that worked there were very happy to have Candace on their team. I recall one of them commenting that she brings joy to the store every time she comes to work. So with the supports from her employment specialist, Marin, and through the SWTCIE Illinois project partnership with Caritas Family Solutions and Human Support Services, Candace is building a workplace skills and confidence while doing the job that she enjoys to do in the community. That is all we have to share today with you with regards to Candace. And I think Erica is on the call if you would have anything else you'd like to share. And one of the other ESs, Judy, is also on the call. And we'll also open up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Okay, I think we're done then. Kyle, go ahead.
Of course, I have a question. I'm always curious because I see similarities between cases and some of the cases within my own agencies. And you had said that the employment specialist is on site with Candace for each
for her shifts, yes.
Each of her shifts. I'm wondering if there are sort of supports or things being done outside of that to kind of help her be able to do this independently?
Outside of the work that's being done while she's at her job?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I cannot address that, and I'm not sure if Erica would like to jump in, being the employment services supervisor there. Because Marin's on vacation, I would not want to speak for her, what she's doing outside of the work that
Aletha, I can answer.
Oh, go ahead, Erica. Thank you.
So Kyle, we are doing some fading out, but because of Candace's often I don't want to moments, I don't know that she'll ever be independent on the job. I mean, that is our ultimate goal, of course.
Right.
But just based on her and having worked with her when she was at Dairy Queen, it's very consistent in how she is, that she may always need a little assistance.
Got it. Understandable.
Thank you so much, Erica.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And I
Any other questions? Brandy, looks like Brandy has a question, Kyle.
Okay, great.
I do. I don't know if I missed this part, but how in the world did you get an employer on board with letting her leave early when she wants? I can see the extra break times and things, but gosh, that just seems like a really understanding person that is the boss there. But I just didn't know how that conversation went and how it was made possible for them to get something so flexible.
Yeah. Erica, did you want to respond to that from your knowledge?
Yes. So, I mean, it's a very good understanding supervisor for sure. But any employer, if they're not willing to work, why are they going to want to pay them? So when she is really, and it doesn't happen, and she'll go through her moments of, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Okay, then let's do that. No, I don't want to do that now. So when she goes through that and she just doesn't want to work, it doesn't make sense to have her there getting paid if she's not going to do the job.
Yeah. And Erica, isn't it true that that's why the hours are what they are right now?
Yes. So we started with her at 2 4-hour shifts, and halfway through the shift, she was done. So she's now working 2-hour shifts.
That's what I thought. That's reduction. So, and haven't met this employer. Honestly, I hope she can give us a testimony for our annual meeting. She's just an amazing employer, I would say. What are your thoughts about that, Erica? I think she's exceptional.
Sorry, I muted myself again. Yeah, we are very lucky, and I don't know if it's just because we're more rural and Yeah, I was even looking yesterday. Is Waterloo rural or suburban? Because we're a little of both.
Yeah, so close to St. Louis, right?
Yeah, we're very fortunate because this placement was amazing. There was also Powerhouse, where we've done a video there. That owner is also very caring and understanding.
Yes.
We're really lucky.
I'd say yes. You're right. Powerhouse is an amazing employer too. I'm hoping we can get one of them or both of them to give us a testimony for the annual meeting because they were an exceptional group. Thank you so much, Erica. Any other questions for Erica or myself with regards to our story? And again, you can look forward to seeing Chelsea's story in the next set of Sophie's videos. We're super excited about that. Looks like Ann has a question. Go ahead, Ann.
How long did it take to cultivate the partnership with the employer?
So that's a great question for Marin, who is on vacation.
Okay.
I do know that we had talked to this employer previously when we had a different ES on staff. And she was extremely excited then. And we had done a few situational assessments there at Three Tails, and those employees didn't work out, and they love Candace as a person. So I think that's what made this placement work out.
Okay. I was just wondering because it's like it doesn't sound like it's just off the straight going in. It sounds like it took some time to cultivate the partnership between you guys and the employer.
And I believe that Marin said she also does business there. She has a pet. Is that correct, Erica?
That was Jordan.
Oh, Jordan. Okay.
Yeah, Jordan lives just down the road from there. So Jordan goes in there often with her dog.
And Jordan is the employment specialist with the Dignity and Pay Project. But they work very closely together, right?
Yes, and they share an office. So
yeah, that helps.
I will say that Jordan's dog did leave their house and went to went to the store for a treat.
And she found her at the store.
Yeah. So it is very good. It's small, mom and pop shops that really, do an awesome job with our people. They're more understanding, I would say. So.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, thank you, Judy, Erica, Aletha. Thank you all. I think it's a really great story. I know that it's very difficult to find employers like that, but I think this highlights that they are out there. And I think this is the first time I've heard of a dog contributing to the business development process. So that's quite exciting too. All right, if there's no more questions for HSS, I'm going to move us along here. Give me one sec. All right. So Ben, I'm going to pass it over to you in a minute here, but I wanted to kind of give a brief introduction. So today we're going to have a presentation from Ben Schatzel, who is a neurodiverse workforce developer and founder of Stannum Core Solutions. And we will put a link to his website in the chat. I highly recommend you take a look at it. To not only see the great work he's doing, but for me, when I look at the website, what's helpful is some of the language he uses in talking about work as it aligns with folks with disabilities. I find could be very helpful in how you would approach employers. And something about Ben that strikes me as very interesting, almost heroic, is he's kind of on his own doing this, trying to connect with manufacturers, and kind of bridging that gap between manufacturing sites and the individuals we're working with trying to put into employment. And something that also kind of strikes my mind as interesting is when we do business development, I feel like it's often focused on businesses that you can walk into and do business development. You can walk into a Culver's, you can walk into a TJ Maxx, you can see the jobs, you can talk to a manager. You don't have to email someone to go there. With manufacturing sites, right, you can't just walk into a company that does glass work or different sorts of manufacturing. You have to kind of take a step back, identify what's happening behind those walls, maybe through a website or through a word of mouth. And then you have to email someone, and then you have to set up a time. And there's a lot more work to get your foot in the door into some of those manufacturing sites. And I think these type of jobs are really nice for our clients because they're used to doing work that's sort of repetitive in that sort of environment, and they can be really successful in that type of environment. But the business development side is a little more tricky than going into sort of a forward-facing business. So this is why I brought Ben on the call today. I will pass it over to him. And Ben, just let me know when you want me to forward the slides.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kyle. That was an incredible intro. I should have been taking notes to punch up my intro for other calls. But before I jump in here, can everybody hear me all right? Is my audio coming through? Fantastic.
Yes.
I'm gonna take a couple of head nods as a yes. Thanks. Yeah, well, as Kyle mentioned, my name is Ben Schatzel. I've spent the past 4 years and some change working with manufacturing employers throughout Illinois to develop competitive, integrated employment opportunities for a variety of individuals. I've worked with individuals kind of all different capabilities, including candidates who have experience working in 14C environments, all the way up to individuals with college degrees or with graduate degrees seeking specialized roles. And, really the content that I'm going to be sharing today applies across the board because I want to take a look at things a little bit more holistically and structurally, knowing that every individual is going to be a little bit unique. Every person's skill set's going to be unique. Every placement is going to be unique. But if we can build strong relationships within the community, then different opportunities are going to present themselves. And then kind of for you all, or, when I'm doing this work for me, that gives us the opportunity to match skill sets between the individual and that opportunity. So that's essentially what I've been doing through my agency, Stannum Core. Kyle asked me to hop on today and share a little bit of kind of the experiences I've had in engaging with employers. And before I jump in, I'll just share, my goal here is to try to provide as much value and information as possible. So I'm going to move a little bit quickly, but if a question comes up, please feel free to stop me, raise a digital hand, drop a note in the chat. I want to make sure that this kind of connects with everything that you all are working on. So without further ado, Kyle, if you would hit the next slide, please. Great. And I kind of got my cheat sheet of notes off to the side. So if you catch me peeking, that's the reason why. But I want to start by just thinking about employers in two separate categories. And broadly speaking, I'm just going to consider category one to be eager employers. So these are employers that maybe are not looking for a whole lot of upfront conversation with your organization. They're not necessarily looking for a lot of understanding around SWTCIE or dignity and pay, and they have an urgent need to fill. They're ready to bring on some people to fill those needs. Again, I would consider that an eager employer. Great that, they've got positions and they're ready to move forward. But at the same time, I find that a lot of times these employers, the employment outcomes tend to be a little bit more fragile, and they view the relationship itself as more of a company and a vendor, the vendor offering talent or candidates, rather than a real strategic partnership that can grow over time. On the other hand, we would have kind of the inverse of that, or what I would call cautious employers who don't necessarily understand what this is going to look like for their organization, how they can support disabled talent, how it's going to solve some of the problems that they already have going on. And so as a result, they're going to be looking for more conversation on the front end. It's going to take a little bit more time to develop that relationship. But unlike eager employers, oftentimes I find these employers to be more interested in building that long-term strategic partnership, and the employment outcomes that come as a result of that tend to be more secure and long-standing. There's no sort of value judgment on either of these categories, right? I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm not saying one is good and bad. It's just helpful to understand who it is that you're talking to and trying to build a relationship with, so that you can budget your time and your energy accordingly. And then before I move on, just a quick note, because I think a lot of times we have so many internal conversations around dignity and pay, around disability hiring and SWTCIE. And for most employers, this is brand new. And if they feel overwhelmed or intimidated, a lot of times, they're just going to close off. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of the conversation, but it's a little bit more difficult to kind of help them visualize how this is going to support their business needs if it feels like a lot of overwhelming acronyms or a lot of theory. So just keep the conversation high level, offer information as it, relates to the conversation that you're having. But try not to info dump a whole lot right at the beginning of the conversation, and just try to meet that employer where they're at. Kyle, next slide, if you would. Great. So again, kind of thinking of this structurally, great way to start meeting new employers is to find out where in your community employers are hanging out. So I would highly recommend getting involved with maybe 1 to 2 organizations in your area where employers hang out. So those could be trade associations, chambers of commerce, meetup groups of some kind. I've got some logos on the screen here, and these are organizations that I've collaborated with kind of in the greater Chicagoland area and had some success. But this is really just a low stakes entry point to be meeting face to face with more employers. Now, when you're meeting people, again, keep in mind, you're offering something totally different. Just by coming into a Chamber of Commerce meeting or an association of some kind, you're going to be totally different from everybody else there. By and large, almost nobody is coming in talking about disability hiring as a workforce solution. And so that allows you to kind of position yourself as a problem solver, as a collaborator, as a partner. And, maybe you're just an informational resource to start, but that can soon evolve into some of those more in-depth partnerships that we're really looking for. Just make friends with these people, figure out where the events are, find how you can offer some value. And I really recommend trying to build a strong partnership with somebody inside that host organization, be it the Chamber of Commerce or the association, because that person will likely be your best marketer once you start having some success with their members. If you're able to provide value for their members, that makes you an incredible resource for that organization, and they're going to want to continue promoting you as a way to serve their members. So that's just a way that you can kind of bring yourself into alignment with what people are already looking for out there. Great. Next slide, please. Awesome. So let's say you've started building some relationships within a Chamber of Commerce, and now you're starting to have a little bit deeper conversation with some of these employers. First and foremost, you just want to learn more about that company. You want to know, is this a company that we even want to work with? And start learning about, their operations. Do they have seasons of the year that tend to be heavier or lighter with hiring? Heavier or lighter with, are they making sales? What does their production look like? And you don't necessarily have to retain all of this information, but you just want to get a sense of what does a day-to-day look like in this organization. What I would really caution you against doing is coming in and leading with the solution. So for all of us here, the solution is ultimately trying to conduct a placement of a candidate into a position. The challenge is if you lead in with the hiring conversation right off the bat, then that creates kind of a binary situation where it's either yes or no. Yes, we're hiring. No, we're not hiring right now. And at least in my experience, and maybe the same for everybody else, if you create that nature of conversation, 9 times out of 10, the answer is just going to be no. And that's a tough place to build a relationship from. So rather than trying to come in and provide a solution in those early conversations, I would recommend just having that platform for the employer to talk more about what it is that they do. Most business leaders really love talking about their business. And if you can have a few leading questions, maybe offer up a couple of success stories, and just get them talking a little bit, then I think the real value comes from identifying what are the pain points that they're facing. Maybe it's related to hiring, maybe it's related to retention, maybe it's related to training. It could be related to something totally outside of workforce. But you want to understand what is it that's kind of keeping them awake at night? What are they spending a lot of time on? If you have a way to address that, fantastic. That's a really strong way to build a relationship. And if you don't, then you just know, hey, this is hiring is going to be a lower priority for this employer right now. I still want to kind of stay in their orbit, but I'm going to maybe touch back in 3 months or 6 months and see where things stand. Yeah, a couple more things on this. So the other thing is knowing that employers are generally coming into this with less knowledge than most of us maybe have. It's really helpful to kind of give them an opportunity to learn and to ask questions in a judge-free space. That's going to help you build some more of that credibility and that trust. And everybody has different conceptions or understandings of what disability looks like in the workforce, and maybe what it could look like at their company. So just letting them kind of get their dander down a little bit and feel comfortable asking questions that, maybe seem a little bit crass or rude at times, or maybe seem totally unrelated to what we're really exploring. That's okay. That's just going to help them understand and get a little bit closer to where we want them to be. And the other thing that I would add here before we move on is I think when it comes to business development, a lot of people use the analogy of dating. And personally, I think that's a bit of an odd analogy for a few reasons. But the first one being when dating, most people are vetting for marriage. We don't necessarily know that we want to marry any of these people. So instead of vetting them for a long-term partnership from the get-go, I think of it more like sorting mail in the mailroom. I've got these two categories that I set up at the beginning. You've got cautious employers and eager employers. You might find other categories that you want to consider based off geography, based off the types of job opportunities, based off the schedule, based off, key champions that work within that organization. And you may find, hey, this employer, they could be a home run for a specific skill set that we see a lot of times in our organization, or they'd be a home run for somebody who lives right in this neck of the woods. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be one of our destination employers where we get 10 to 15 people hired, but they're another feather in our cap and they could be a potential strong placement for somebody. Vice versa, you might get deeper into a conversation and realize, hey, we really don't want to work with this organization. Yeah, maybe they've got some opportunities that are interesting, but we just know we're going to end up having to sink a lot of time and energy into this in order to make it successful. So these are the things that you want to be considering. And, ultimately, whether or not you want to engage with that employer on a placement is up to your organization and their organization. But yeah, just keeping in mind that anywhere that we're allocating our time and energy is just going to be somewhere else that we can't necessarily allocate that time and energy. So thinking critically about who it is that we're trying to build partnerships with is very helpful. Next slide, please, Kyle. Great. So we've identified some places that we can meet new employers. Maybe we've started making some friends and building connections with some of those employers that we've met. But how can you go about actually building that relationship over time? We're not going to start by just coming in and offering our solution right off the bat. We want to learn about their pain points, but where do we go from there? And I think, the most important thing to do is just find real low lift, easy points for collaboration. I've got a few on the screen, so that could be something as simple as just coming in for a tour, maybe taking a look at a couple of the positions that they have, speaking with their HR team. If they are hiring, then, even then I probably wouldn't jump straight to hashing out the specifics of making a placement. If they say, hey, we're ready to hire right now, I would ask them for a little bit of buy-in. And that could be as simple as, okay, great. Could you give us the job descriptions? Could you give us an opportunity to meet with the hiring manager or just observe the role for a little bit? Something to kind of build that a little bit deeper on the front end. The other thing is, when you're communicating with these employers, you're really communicating to a person within that employer. And that seems obvious in a sense, but it's really important because if you have built a one-on-one relationship with a hiring manager, with an HR leader, with somebody in their C-suite, then that relationship is going to be key to the life cycle of the project. If you have a connection with one of those people, and then all of a sudden you're bringing in 5 or 6 or 7 other members of your team for a meeting with them, that's going to kind of put them on the defensive, and that's going to feel overwhelming, right? Likewise, if you find yourself in a position where you're showing up to a meeting and they've got 7 or 8 people on their team that are showing up, it's going to be really challenging to navigate that relationship because you're going to be getting little bits and pieces of information from every different person there. So it's really helpful to identify who is your key champion in that organization and really work to build a personal relationship with that person. Because as things come up later, whether that's problem solving of some kind, some sort of cross training, that's really what you can fall back on to say, hey, me and this person are in constant communication. We understand each other. We have a shared vision for this. And, if we have to come in and problem solve, if we have to, adjust the job itself a little bit, then we've got a partner internally who's going to help us navigate that. Now, once you've kind of built that relationship, I recommend quarterly outreach. So offer them some resources, tips, information, success stories. I know somebody mentioned earlier that there's SWTCIE videos that come out that feature success stories. That's a great thing to share, even if it doesn't necessarily directly feature your organization. It just helps these employers kind of visualize what this looks like. And it also might make them a little bit jealous of the fact that there's other companies out here doing this and having success. So it's great to share those things. Again, I recommend quarterly outreach. So, every 3 to 4 months or so, but try to avoid getting excited and emailing them something new every week or even every month, just because no matter how committed that employer is, this is almost never going to be something that is number one on their priority list. Now, if it is, then, then you can meet them where they're at. But just being, again, a friendly face that is checking in and always adding value is tremendous. And then when the timing opens up and the opportunity opens up, then you can naturally kind of go down that path to conduct the placement. And, if you're sending out resources every few months and you're not hearing anything back, then again, a very organic way to reconnect with these employers is through some of these community groups, associations, chambers of commerce, going to in-person or virtual events. Even if you just pop in for a little bit to share some information, that's where it can be really helpful to kind of have that internal stakeholder within one of those organizations. So it doesn't necessarily feel like you're chasing people down, but at the same time, you're always kind of staying top of mind with them. And then finally, kind of as I'm landing the plane here, just a couple of things to consider, but really the goal here is not necessarily always to get to a placement with an organization. Sometimes that is the goal. Sometimes the next thing up is, hey, let's figure out how we can develop this job, get somebody in here and get them trained. Sometimes it's not. But no matter what, the goal is always going to be to continue the conversation. So every touch point that you have, every conversation that you have is an opportunity to lead into the next conversation, and just continuing to build that relationship over time is a huge win in and of itself. And lastly, every conversation you have, every engagement that you have is a representation of your organization and your candidates. So continuing to build that credibility and that trust, and demonstrating yourself to be a capable and confident collaborator is really going to set you apart in that space. That's what I've got for now. Kyle's going to put up a quick video in just a minute, but before we get to that, I want to pause and see if there's any questions. Going once, twice. Gone. Okay. I'll pause again after the video. It's just a few minutes, like 3.5 minutes or so, but it's a success story from an organization that I've worked with extensively over the years called G&W Electric. They're based out in Bolingbrook, Illinois, southwest suburb of Chicago. They've hired over a dozen individuals over the past few years. So, Kyle, I'll let you take it away with that. And then if there's any questions afterwards, I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, here's the video.
We try to think of creative solutions that we can work with, and one of which was presented was using an autistic workforce.
We pride ourselves in being an inclusive workforce, but someone with autism, that's an inclusive element that we had not explored before. So it just expanded kind of who we are and what we wanted to do. And honestly, it fills a need for us. There aren't very many people who want to work in a manufacturing environment, and neurodiverse individuals have difficulty finding roles. It's a match made in heaven.
By bringing the autistic workforce in, I was able to meet my goals because where I had 2 or 3 people doing one job, I was able to incorporate the autistic workforce, and I can only put one person there, and I still accomplish everything I need to accomplish with that one person that I normally have 2 or 3 people doing the job.
We have some very critical jobs. They're narrow in focus, but critical to our product. And a neurodiverse individual can come in and really blossom in that job. So some of them are repetitive, some of them are very procedurally oriented, and those are places where we can have a neurodiverse individual work and have our other employees be more flexible in how we use them in the plant.
One of the largest contributions an autistic employee can make to an organization is the fact that they want to work. Autistic employees need some support as well, and they're typically in the form of visuals or just predictability. If organizations will bend to that, they have a long-term employee who shows up every day, produces at high level, and is happy to be there. And the ripple effect of that is a shift in culture. Everybody wants to contribute, and people love working next to somebody who wants to be there.
The impact they had on the G&W business, because of the repetitive work and the nature of the autistic workforce, our increase in production has been about 20%. And by me bringing them in, where I normally use multiple people, now I'm beginning to use them, and they can fill the gaps, and we still make all our production numbers.
The people that had been in constant communication with us since the beginning had been throughout the entire program a backbone. The way they help us establish like a work cell, we have to look at how the work flow was going to be more efficient. And they give us different perspectives that help us plan an area that help our neurodiversity team not just learn the new task, but also complete them in a timely manner, in a reliable way, and providing quality.
What I did with my first paycheck was ordering lunch at Illuminati's with my parents and donate money to church so that the money can be sent to poor countries, to poor people.
I buy these VHS. I'm a VHS collector.
I want to go on vacation this summer. That would be insanely lit.
All right. Well, thanks everybody again for letting me pop in and share some information on today's call. If anybody has a question, I'll take a quick look at the chat, or again, feel free to raise your digital hand. But otherwise, as Kyle mentioned, there's a link to my website in the chat. Feel free to give it a look. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email. I'd be happy to answer any other questions that come up, or, if there's something specific that you're working through within your own organization, happy to chat through it and see if there's anything I can do to support. But I know that there's a lot of other things to get to, so I will go ahead and go back. Oh, I see a couple of questions. Yeah, Brandy, I think is the first one I see.
Hi. I really enjoyed that. We have been trying so hard to get into factories nearby. And we did just take a tour the other day, and I'm hoping to not get somebody in there very fast, like you said, but just to build that relationship with her. But could we have this video? I've been looking for videos to showcase how it could work in a factory. From what I was told by others, is it's kind of just a lack of creativity maybe on their part, like they couldn't see how it's possible. So I didn't know if we could borrow your video to share with some of the factories here.
Happy to do so. I don't know what the best way would be to get it to everybody, because I see a couple other people in chat maybe asking for it, but you're welcome to email me and I can shoot you a link. Maybe that's the easiest way to do it. If everybody that wants it just shoots me an email, or I don't know if it's easier to facilitate that through Kyle. But yeah, I mean, by all means, I'm happy to share anything that's going to be helpful for your conversations, and best of luck with that employer.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to. Hi, Aletha.
Hi there. I have a couple of questions. The first is related to our customers, that they are also shared customers with the DRS, the Division of Rehabilitation Services. So my first question was, how closely, if at all, have you worked with local VR offices with this particular population?
Yeah, so it's case by case. Just a little bit of insight into my process, but everything that I shared here is essentially like the front end of it, right? And then where I'm a little bit unique is I'm totally private. So if a conversation is ready to engage, then that's a contract. That's like a contract agreement between us, where we say we're going to hire 3 different positions. This is the scope of the positions. That said, I recruit candidates from a wide variety of places. So I've, worked with a lot of the field offices through DRS, and I'm not going to say quite 50%, but probably thereabout, of the candidates that I'm placing have a DRS case, right? And so that's something that I'll kind of bring in with the employers, just organically weave that into my conversation as we're talking about hiring, to say, hey, these are of course, exceptional candidates, but here's some things to keep in mind, right? Like they may not be looking to ever move on past part-time. They may be on an income cap. Whatever the case is with those individuals, I'll kind of bring that information forward. Outside of that, I mean, it essentially functions the same as any other plan for me because I am private. If I'm engaged with an employer, then that CRP that is managing the DRS, they can still come in and do their typical job coaching services as they would with any other community placement, right? So hopefully that
I'm curious because you would be an employment service provider who would be paid for that placement, correct? If you were partnering with VR?
So I'm not partnered with.
Okay. Gotcha.
Not formally, at least. Essentially, when I'm engaging with VR, I'm coming in as an extension of the employer that's hiring on a contract basis. So in that way, I kind of function as a employer. But then once we make the placement, that VR placement, then CRP is involved, right? So they're involved with the whole hiring process, often kind of through that onboarding phase. Again, the same as any other community placement.
Right. So that's really good. Thank you so much for explaining that. The other question I had was related to your interest in potentially presenting at our annual meeting this fall as a presenter. And I think I mentioned this to Kyle as well, but I was waiting to kind of see this presentation. It's a larger audience, obviously, and I think your information is just an amazing insight into how to connect with those with industries that we don't always look to provide partnerships with. So I won't put you on the spot with that necessarily today.
Okay.
But if you could give that some thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you so much, Ben.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you at the end there, but no, I mean, I'm certainly interested. This is, kind of a crash course right here. I tried to jam pack as much as I could in just a few slides, but yeah, would love to connect on that further just to get the details. But as far as interest, I'm interested. Kyle, do you have something? Oh.
Yeah. I have so many screens I can't see if there's other hands up. So looking at the video, I saw like sort of the visuals of the different work setups that show like I'm guessing like the way things are organized or the different tools. I'm wondering how those were able to be put into place in that factory itself. Is that something you assisted with setting up, or who provides that level of detail and visual support for a manufacturing site?
Yeah, so part of the reason that they are featured in the video is they are an incredible employer. Some of that was pre-existing. So not for the work site itself, but there was a shot where you saw like some of the cleaning supplies, and there's like essentially like chalk silhouettes more or less for the different cleaning supplies on the pegboard. That was actually something that they already had in place, but we kind of took that concept and put it into the work cells that we were working on. So that was essentially just a consultative approach from my end to say, hey, this work cell, there's about 8 different assemblies that somebody could be working on any given day. They may or may not remember all 8 of those assemblies, but if we have a completed version of those within eyeline, then they know, okay, I'm working on assembly B today or D or whatever, and it's going to help them move quicker. Same thing with those color-coded trays that you might have seen. That was, again, something that the employer implemented, but essentially just a recommendation from myself to say, hey, when looking for parts, this is going to help somebody move a little bit quicker so that they know exactly what part they're looking for, where to find it. There's an organization to everything. So that really comes down to understanding the job and understanding, what's going to make things a little bit more efficient, not necessarily just for that employee, but ideally for, anybody who walks into that work cell. That's, almost a whole other side to all of this when it comes to actually developing the job and trying to create those universal efficiencies. Sometimes the employer's bought into that, sometimes not. But if I can kind of get to that level with an employer, then there's a whole different layer of impact there. As you saw the operations managers talking about, they've increased output by like 20% as a result of some of these efficiencies. So, that's again, maybe a whole separate layer to all of this, but that's essentially how it came to be.
Got it. It's very cool to see that level of support on site at a job.
Yeah, thank you. I totally agree. And it makes a world of difference, right? Instead of having to give instructions every day, if that person can kind of be visually guided throughout their day, then it makes everybody a little bit more comfortable, I think.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the people that you're working with are not the only people that benefit from that kind of visual representation of the work that has to be done. So really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, Ben, can't thank you enough for the presentation. Really, really great information. I don't think this is the last time we're going to be seeing you and the employment specialists and the agencies. I'm sure we'll cross paths again, and we will work to get that video shared to everyone. We'll try to get a link out to everyone by the end of this week here. And yeah, Ben, just a big thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.
All right on time, y'all.
We try to think of creative solutions.
Okay, we went through that. Okay, real quick, just wanted to put this out here because I just wanted to make sure everyone was included in the activities at last month's COP. If you all remember, we dedicated pretty much the whole COP to allowing the agencies to just sort of highlight the things they were proud of. It could be anything. It could be a placement. It could be business development. It could be going to an outreach event, anything that they were proud of recently. And this sort of stemmed from some of the responses we got from the ES Roundtable survey. So I wanted to open this space up for Centerstone and the workshop who were not able to attend last month's COP. I know Centerstone is not here today, but I just wanted to dedicate these last few minutes to, Jasmine. Okay, sorry. I want to dedicate these last few minutes. The workshop. Yeah, the workshop.
Well, if I could, on behalf of Centerstone first.
Sure.
James was on the call earlier. He had another commitment. Neither of the two ESs were able to attend because of employment support services requirements. However, they will be ready to share at our next meeting with regards to a brand new partnership with the local sports complex. So we look forward to being able to share next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Aletha. And Jasmine, if you want to pop in here and chat, if anybody else from your team is on the call, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. I'm not 100% sure if anybody else is on the call, unfortunately. Both of my other employment specialists are not here. Are you able to hear me, by the way? Oh, yeah, I can see my voice is being registered. Okay. So I was able to speak with them beforehand, though, and kind of gather some information on their behalf. So I'll be able to speak on, my successes as well as theirs. So in general, since we have started this program, we have successfully placed 27 people total. That is not SWTCIE people, just SWTCIE people. It's everybody included. Currently, we are waiting for 4 cases to be open. That would all be SWTCIE, so that's also very exciting. We're just, waiting for DRS to finish their side of it. And then we also, on like a kind of side note, we had our Special Olympics event. We had 15 people who attended, and 3 of them made it to state, so that's also very exciting. And then we have something in our program here as an employment specialist that started called Friends of the Community. And because of our commitments to, job developing and job coaching, we haven't been able to successfully do that as well. So the workshop has actually offered to have our programming staff kind of help take over that. So we'll be able to continue getting, customers out and integrated in the community and potentially doing volunteer opportunities, which also could always lead to employment if they decide that they find something they really like. So we have our employment specialist named Cindy, who recently placed this is all SWTCIE people, by the way, so I have permission to share their stories. So we have a Roger Ackerson, who just got placed at McDonald's. We have a Clayton, who just got placed in Culver's. He's actually already been working there, and he's been doing very, very well. With Clayton, he can sometimes be a semi-temperamental person, and he has not had any issues. He's picked up his job very well. It's been a little over a month, I want to say, and Cindy is already slowly starting the process of kind of fading away. He's very happy with what he's doing every day. He's coming in. He's very excited to get on the bus and go to work. So it's very cool to see him doing so well. In terms of Kathy, which is our other employment specialist, she recently placed someone named Katie. She's also been doing very, very well. Her managers report that, she needed very little training, that she was doing very good, that she always comes in with a very positive attitude. And Kathy is noticing that as well when she's working with her. And so just in general, I think that we are kind of getting the ball rolling with our other 4 people as well, who we're eventually going to have open with DRS. As I am kind of a newer employment specialist, I haven't placed anybody yet, but I have 2 cases that I'm waiting that I'm very excited to start. So it's been a lot of movement. We've been very, very busy over here at the workshop, but making lots of good progress.
Great stuff happening over there, Jasmine. I really appreciate you sharing. Does anybody have any questions, comments? All right, well, we're at the 3-minute mark here. Just real quick, some reminders. Next month, July, we will not have the Community of Practice because we have the ES Roundtable. So the next Community of Practice is the first Wednesday in August. And another thing, I know that the last few ones we've done the breakout sessions, those take a lot of time. And I really thought the information that Ben had to share was really valuable. So we took a break from the breakout sessions, but we're going to bring those back in August. So look forward to that. And yeah, appreciate you all very much. Hope you have a great day, a great rest of your week. And we're here if you need us. Let us know. I will be sending out that quality of life flyer and the slides, and then the link to the video that Ben shared as well. So be on the lookout for that.